Hello, beautiful friends. I hope you're all doing well. If you are new to me, my name is Lauren, and I am on a journey of healing my chronic fatigue and adrenal fatigue by healing old emotional wounds, old trauma, old wounds that have lended a life full of emotional toxicity that I had no idea I had. Until the gift of this illness, adrenal fatigue and chronic fatigue, obviously did not feel like a gift for a long time. And I'm sure it doesn't feel like a gift to you. But what I can promise you is if you start on a journey of healing your emotional self and your energetic body, you will find healing that you never thought possible. It's a whole new level of health and vitality and fulfillment and joy that I never knew was possible. You might not know is possible. And I've barely gotten started. I mean, I've only been on this journey for a year and a half of healing these old wounds. But I want to make this process faster for you. So that's why I'm here, making these videos to try to help you move faster. Today I'm going to talk about, I have a bunch of videos about peeling away the wound onion. I think of these emotional wounds as a big core onion, and you have to peel it away layer by layer, piece by piece, in order to heal it in the end. And it's an always evolving cycle, but at some point, once you get the hang of it, it starts to get more enjoyable because you start to gain perspective. You start to gain confidence in your ability to heal something. I honestly, I said something to my mom today, just as an example. We were talking about something and she said, well, I just don't want you to get hurt. And I said, that it's fine if I get hurt. It's fine because I have so much confidence in my ability to move through difficult emotions at this point that I'm willing to risk getting hurt. If that's what I need to do, if I need to take an action that puts me in a vulnerable position, I'm finally at this place where I can do that. Or at least I believe that I can do that. At least I'm brave enough to say that I'm brave enough to do it. We'll see. I haven't done it yet, what I was talking about this morning. But the point is, suddenly, when I have always been afraid of being hurt, and I don't know where you are, I don't know if you feel like, it just feels like the world is already so painful that I can't bear to take any more wounding on. So I need to walk around the earth and amongst people, in this very tentative, cautious, sweet, pacifying way so that nobody ever dislikes me, nobody ever hurts me. This is me. This is me for the first 30 years of my life. And if this is you, and you can relate to this, I can tell you that if you start on this journey of healing emotional wounds in your energetic body, that you will gain enough self-love and self-confidence. So the self-confidence comes a lot from just the healing work, like doing the work itself. Yes, a lot from actually healing the wounds themselves, but also of just the process of successfully gaining your health back and your vitality back, gaining vitality and joy and fulfillment and being able to feel your purpose and follow your purpose and have more hope in the world. That process gives you a ton more confidence. Obviously, it happens over time, and it doesn't happen all at once. It's a process of learning how to take care of yourself. Honestly, the process of healing from adrenal fatigue and chronic fatigue is a process of learning how to take care of yourself in this world. Because so many of us who are highly sensitive people, or empaths especially, have learned to live in the world in a way that is self-sacrificing to a point of being unhealthy, literally unhealthy, because you eventually develop an illness. You are going so far from what your soul has intended you to do and be in this world, and we all are supposed to be something. We all have a purpose in this world. If you're so far away from the purpose that you were meant to lead in this life, it ends up ruining your health. It ends up manifesting as an illness because it is physically depleting your body to be so disconnected from your source, from your soul, from your spirit, when you're so disconnected from yourself and your inner child and your inner self and your higher self. I mean, there's so many words, there's so many ways to describe this, but the lack of connection to those parts of yourself, if you're so disconnected from that, it takes a giant toll on the physical body. And if it revolves around fear and disempowerment and shame, which at its core is pain, then a fatigue-related illness is so likely to happen. Maybe it's even inevitable, eventually over time. I don't know. But I think highly sensitive people are more likely to develop it earlier in their lives. It used to be that it would take decades and decades and decades to reach the point of an illness, that an energetic problem would get to the point of becoming a physical illness. But the planet's energy is speeding up. And it is pushing all of us to heal faster and heal deeper. And for highly sensitive people and empaths, that push is felt even more poignantly. And it's like, it's almost unbearable for that person physically. The physical being of that person can't sustain having stagnated energy in their body anymore, because their cells are being shaken up so much, and empaths are not they don't tolerate stagnated energy as well as non-empaths do. And so it takes a lot less time for it to manifest in the physical body and take a huge toll on the physical body. One thing that I've discovered, so I've gone into this next layer. So I've been in this shame soup for months and trying to figure out what's underneath. I was all excited when I got to the layer of shame, because that was a new layer underneath the powerlessness. And then I was working with self-loathing, like all these in self-doubt, and like really intense self-doubt and self-loathing. Then the self-loathing would come up in things like doing addictive behaviors like emotional eating for me, and maybe something similar or different for you. If something comes up and you feel ashamed, we all have strategies of coping with that feeling that our inner child has decided or knows is unbearable for a child. But it's not unbearable for an adult. And so now it's time to be an adult for our inner child. That's really another key part of this process. So it's in the self-loathing layer. I was in this powerlessness, helplessness layer. I was in this shame layer. And then some divine things happened to show me that my heart and small intestines are being activated. And astrology really helped. And I'm going to make other videos on how I use astrology to help me on this journey, because I've really used it a lot. And it is so supportive to me, especially during periods when I feel so lost and so frustrated and stuck and like I'm not moving. I don't know how to identify this. I don't know how to release it. I don't know how to move through it, whatever emotion is coming up at that time. So I'll make separate videos on astrology and how I use that. It's so helpful. But the astrology of this recent time helped identify, because it was there was a series of eclipses and full moons and new moons. I had a couple of incidences where I had these events that I thought almost felt like adrenal events, but I knew that it wasn't an adrenal crash because my body was calm. And it's not possible to have an adrenal crash if your nervous system is calm, if your breathing is calm, if your whole nervous system is calm. If you are in a parasympathetic state, it's impossible to have an adrenal crash. And in hindsight, I see it was not a crash, but in the moment, it felt so much like it was that falling feeling, shaky, weak, heart palpitations. And I was so confused by it. And my heart was racing. It was pounding. It was working hard. There were a couple of incidences where that happened, and it lasted for more than a day. But then it got better, but it lingered. It also lingered, and for weeks and weeks, I just felt like my heart was working harder than normal. And what I ended up realizing, because I was doing a lot of work with my heart because of these symptoms, and I discovered that the heart and small intestines are connected in traditional Chinese medicine. And then I found somewhere else that these are connected to a number of different options of base emotions. and experiences. There's abandonment and betrayal, control, love unreceived. There are others. There were 8 of them, I think. And I read them all, and I let my intuition hit me on which ones stood out to me. Abandonment stood out to me, but the one that really hit was love unreceived. Love unreceived. That's the pain. That is where my core pain is. Pain underneath the powerlessness, underneath the shame, underneath the self-loathing, underneath all of it. The core of my attachment trauma is in the pain of not receiving love in the way that I needed it. This might not sound like a huge realization because I probably have said something to this effect many times, but there was something about this, feeling it in my body, feeling the pain of not feeling the love that I needed in my body through my heart symptoms. I also have this chronic, or at least it's been chronic in the last 3 to 6 months, spasming in my left trap muscle, my left hip muscle, and my left jaw muscle. Spasming, always spasming. And I found out that they are all connected because it comes up the body. It starts at my hip. But if I think of all the things that I know about chakras and things, first of all, the left side of the body is about receiving. And second of all, the hip is your sacral chakra, and that's interpersonal relationships. It could also be argued that it's your root chakra too, which is it's about safety. Well, this area with my trap is my heart chakra, which is all about love. And my jaw, I think of that, I associate that with being able to speak your truth and speak the pain and express the pain, express the pain of what you didn't receive. And I haven't expressed it my whole life until this illness. Though, if you put those 3 things together, to me, the story that it's told is pain of love unreceived. And that is the core of my pain, I think. I mean, I don't know. I might find, I'm sure I'll find other layers. There's always more to find. There's always more to understand and experience. More pain to heal. There's always more pain to heal. But this is the core of at least the cycle and the onion layer that I've been working on for the last 1.5 years. I know that it is. And it's connected to the fear of abandonment. I have a fear of abandonment, and it's associated with this wound. I did not receive the love that I needed as a child, possibly because of past lives, which I have not delved into as deeply as I plan to. I plan to go a lot deeper in that and do lots of past life regressions as I learn more and more about them and how profound they can be in what they tell you and explain to you about your life and your fears and your pain. But it's possible that I was abandoned in a past life. And in my life, I have had a fear, a very, very intense fear of being abandoned by men. In this lifetime, men in particular, but that could be because of the past life, that could be because of my particular circumstances as a child. So because I have this love unreceived wound, and maybe this past life of abandonment, I have a very intense fear of abandonment. And that pain unreceived triggered that fear of abandonment, and it created this personality, this little girl who did everything in her power to get love, to receive the love that I needed, and nothing I did as a little girl would get me there. And I could be as sweet and wonderful and perfect as I possibly could be, and obviously I wasn't perfect, but I was trying to be, and pleasing as I possibly could be. I could never get what I needed because that person was not able to give it to me and was never going to be able to, and he still is not able to give it to me. And I still struggle, but I still am learning how to let this go. And I've made so much progress, and I'm so much more able to let this go and be secure and safe and loved in myself than ever before in my entire life after healing these wounds. And seeing this love unreceived pain wound is even more helpful. I'm telling my story, my example, to help you think about your example and how I figure these things out. And I've been working on this for a couple months. Longer than, I mean, everything sort of is connected to each other and stems off of each other. So a long time. But I've had these chronic spasms for the last, I want to say it was 6 months. I think it started in about, I think it was about 6 months ago. It's ebbed and flowed. It's gotten worse during periods and better during periods. And if I looked back, maybe I could find a connection with astrology and when wounds were coming up for me and things like that. I don't know. But every layer that you get to is this exciting moment of clarity, because you can see it when you can see it more clearly, you can understand it, then you can consciously work to shift it and consciously work at calming and nurturing that inner child. That inner child who is just hurt and scared because of the hurt that he or she has already experienced and was not able to move through those emotions because you were just a child. She and he they're still in there. And until you can fully see her and see him, when you fully see them and acknowledge them and love them through it, that's when things can be let go of. That's when healing happens. When you fully see. And so for me, and maybe other people can do this without doing this cognitive work, this psychological work, but for me, it's so helpful for me to get a concept, to understand. I don't know, maybe it's just, I'm a very intellectual person. I just want to have an understanding all the time. Makes me feel safe to have an understanding of what's happening so that I can consciously work towards and work at and see that beautiful hurt child that needs to be held and loved. It's so easy for me to do that when I know the pain, when I can see the pain. I can acknowledge it much better. So I wanted to share with that new layer because, I talk about self-loathing as a layer, but it's not an emotion. And shame is not a core emotion. It is close to the core. It is the defense around the core emotion, the core pain. But the true center is always going to be around pain. There's going to be a pain there. Hurt. There's something hurt. Something hurt and you couldn't feel it then. And so it's your job to feel it now for your inner child. To release her or him of the anguish that they're in. And their anguish is destroying your health. And so when you can fully see him or her, embrace her, him, love him or her, and if you have children, it might be a little easier for you to just, if you imagine your inner child as your own child and how you would respond to them if they were hurting, it sometimes helps because we're so much harder on ourselves than we are to anybody else, especially our children. For most people, most of us are more hurtful to ourselves, more berating, harsher. You should be over it by now. The shoulds that we do to ourselves, they torment us, they harm us. They do. And I am one of the most guilty of anybody. I should all over myself all the time. I mean, I've gotten so much better, but I still catch myself doing it. But that's the key, is to catch yourself. Once you become conscious and you start seeing, and that's exactly what I'm talking about with the wound and the inner child, when you actually see, when you acknowledge and see and clearly see in front of you the wound, the hurt, the pattern, whatever it is, once you see it, you can never unsee it. And once you see it, you can consciously work to go in the other direction. Because consciously, we all know what we want, what we desire, what we should and shouldn't do. Again, look at me shoulding. But it's our unconscious. It's our unconscious that we have to heal. The unconscious, and because our unconscious is our body, and our body and our unconscious is our inner child. And so that's what we have to heal when we're healing these wounds, to heal this illness, to get vitality back in your life, to have joy, fulfillment, to feel the high vibrational emotions that we all want to heal, but we're stuck in these low vibrational emotions because we haven't healed them. You can't, and this is such a pervasive myth in our culture, that if you just positive vibe it away, if you've got all this negativity in your life, you just be positive, and then you become spiritual. Just force the spirituality and just force love and prayer, and you just do it anyway and hope. Just believe. If you just flood yourself with those things, you flood your inner child with those things, that it'll change your life, and it's not true. What I have found that I know is true is that true spirituality, true love, true fulfillment, true joy, the way you get to those places that we all want to get to is you have to go through the pain first. You have to go into the pain so you can go through the pain and let it go and leave it behind you. And pain will always be coming up, but it gets less and less and less. And as I was saying in the beginning, you gain more and more confidence about your ability to move through pain. So you're not scared of it anymore. And you're willing to do what it takes. And you're not only willing, but you want to. Because you know that if something's coming up, there is even more vitality, joy, and fulfillment on the other side. That is what you learn by doing this process. That every time you do it, you get vitality, joy, and fulfillment. And closer to your purpose, closer to your soul and your spirit and your higher self. Being spiritual is healing yourself first so that you can heal other people. And this is what this illness is teaching us. This illness is teaching us, this fatigue illness is teaching us, you and me, people with these illnesses, how to take care of yourself, but more so, how to heal ourselves. And I've said it again and again, the gift of this illness is that this illness is always with you until you heal the stuff that's causing it. And so the gift is that it doesn't really let it up. It doesn't let up. Like you can heal something. Other people who don't have an illness have the benefit of stopping if they feel like it. If they don't want to keep doing it. But if you want to get rid of this illness, you have to keep going until it's healed. Until your vitality is where you want it. Until you feel the joy that you want, the vitality, the energy, the high vibrations that you want to feel. You have to keep healing these things. And this illness and having symptoms is always nagging at you. That's the gift. Because it's always pushing you. You have more to heal. You have more to heal. You have more to heal. And I think that is such a gift. That is such a gift. Because sometimes we have to be prodded to do the things that we don't want to do. Even when we know it's good for us. You know what I'm talking about. There are tons of examples of this. Even if we know the thing is good for us, we should, and then we start shoulding all over ourselves, and it's like, we should eat that meal. We should eat that salad. We should eat those vegetables, but we don't want to. And if your poor health isn't forcing you to, then you just won't. And then something horrible could show up for your life later. And you end up living a life every day with sluggish, you're tired, you're fatigued after eating, you feel like crap, your digestion doesn't work well. But if you have this illness, this is just an example, this illness prodding at you to eat healthy. I mean, eating healthy is just one example or one segment of this illness that's a gift. It's forcing you to eat healthy because when you don't, you immediately feel like crap. And so it's motivating to keep eating that every day. You decide at some point that it's not worth it. It's not worth it to indulge in that thing because you will feel so horrible. And you've worked so hard to feel as good as you do right now that it's not worth risking that. And it's the same with this emotional stuff in my view. That it's this constant pushing constant pushing to keep moving towards this future that you see that because when you see that it makes a difference every time that you heal something, again, it's more motivation. It keeps pushing you, or pulling you, I should say. It's more like pulling you. It keeps pulling you in this direction. Like you keep going. There's more to heal. And every time a symptom shows up, it's because there's more to heal. I'm telling you, it's true. Believe me. Because if you just believe me, it'll save you so much pain and heartache and frustration and hopelessness and exasperation, which is what I experienced. Because I didn't know, and I was going sort of blindly, but also trusting, because I started to do it and I saw such unbelievable results that I kept going. So that's what I'm encouraging you to not learn this on your own by trial and error, millions of trials and errors. Just trust what I'm saying and start on this journey. Keep going on this journey with me. I don't know how long I'm going to be on this journey, but it could be a long time. Because as I said, even though, oh gosh, I can't even tell you the difference in my health. I can't tell you the vast amounts of energy and vitality that I have now compared to a year and a half ago. It's night and day. I can't even express to you the difference since I started healing this emotional stuff. And again, did no supplements whatsoever. Nothing like that. I couldn't do any of that. This has been it. This has been all I've been doing. So it's proof to me that there's no question that this is what's causing me to heal. And so that's what I want for you. So let's do this. Let's do this together. And you can have the vitality, joy, and fulfillment that you've always dreamed of. I hope this was helpful. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day or night or whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world. And I will see you on the next video. Okay, bye.